If you're dreaming of buying a home in northwest London, chances are you've asked yourself one question more than any other. How much deposit do I actually need? It's the question that keeps many potential buyers on the sidelines. Before they've spoken to a mortgage advisor, before they've viewed a single property, before they've properly explored their options, many people have already convinced themselves that they simply don't have enough saved. And it's not difficult to understand why. Property prices across London have long dominated headlines. Stories about soaring house values, fierce competition, and buyers needing huge deposits have created a perception that getting onto the property ladder is becoming increasingly difficult. For many people, the deposit feels like a mountain they may never climb. But here's the surprising reality. Many first-time buyers have a very different deposit requirement in mind than what may actually be needed. The biggest mistake people make is assuming that they need a massive lump sum before they can even think about buying a property. In reality, the amount of deposit required depends on several factors, including the property's value, the mortgage product available, your financial profile, and your overall affordability. Understanding how these factors work together is often the first step towards turning uncertainty into a realistic plan. Let's start with the basics. A deposit is the portion of the property's purchase price that you pay up front. The remaining amount is usually covered through a mortgage from a lender. For example, if a property costs £400,000 and you have a 10% deposit, you would contribute £40,000 and borrow the remaining £360,000 through a mortgage. Simple enough. However, where things become more interesting is the relationship between the size of your deposit and the mortgage options available to you. Generally speaking, a larger deposit can provide access to more competitive mortgage rates and may reduce your monthly repayments. This is because lenders often view buyers with larger deposits as presenting a lower level of risk. But that doesn't necessarily mean you need a huge deposit to begin your journey. Many buyers are surprised to discover that there may be mortgage products available with significantly lower deposit requirements than they originally expected. The challenge is that many people focus entirely on the deposit figure without considering the bigger financial picture. Because while the deposit is important, it is only one piece of the puzzle. Lenders will also look at your income, employment status, existing financial commitments, credit history, and overall affordability. In other words, having a large deposit does not automatically guarantee that you can secure a mortgage. And equally, having a smaller deposit does not automatically mean home ownership is out of reach. This is why understanding your financial position is so important. Northwest London presents a unique landscape for buyers. The region offers a diverse mix of neighbourhoods, property types, and price points. Areas that may seem similar on a map can differ significantly in terms of affordability and future potential. For buyers, this means that flexibility can often create opportunity. Sometimes the difference between an affordable purchase and an unaffordable one is not the size of your deposit. It is the area you choose. Many buyers begin their search focused on one specific location, only to discover that neighbouring areas offer similar transport connections, amenities, and lifestyle benefits at a more accessible price point. This is where local knowledge becomes incredibly valuable. Understanding which areas are developing, where infrastructure investment is taking place, and where future growth may occur can dramatically change what is possible within your budget. Another common misconception is that once you've saved your deposit, you're ready to buy. In reality, purchasing a property often involves additional costs that buyers should prepare for. There may be legal fees, survey costs, moving expenses, and other transaction-related costs that need to be considered alongside the deposit itself. This is why experienced buyers tend to focus on building a complete financial plan rather than targeting a deposit figure alone. Having clarity around your total purchasing budget can help avoid surprises later in the process and provide greater confidence when the right opportunity appears. Of course, saving a deposit in London is rarely easy. For many people, it requires patience, discipline, and a long-term approach. It often means making consistent financial decisions month after month, setting realistic savings targets, tracking spending habits, reducing unnecessary expenses, and remaining focused even when progress feels slow. But one of the most encouraging truths about homeownership is that very few people reach it overnight. Most homeowners did not wake up one morning with the perfect deposit sitting in their bank account. They built it gradually, step by step, month by month, year by year. The difference between those who eventually buy and those who remain stuck often comes down to having a clear strategy. Because uncertainty creates hesitation. Clarity creates action. When you know what you're working towards, how much you need to save, and what options are available, the journey becomes far more manageable. This is particularly important for first-time buyers who may be relying on headlines, social media, or second-hand information when assessing their chances of buying. The truth is that the property market is far more nuanced than many people realize. Every buyer's situation is different. Every lender assesses applications differently, and every property purchase comes with its own unique considerations. That is why personalized advice and professional guidance can make such a significant difference. Rather than making assumptions, buyers can gain a realistic understanding of what is achievable based on their own circumstances, and often that reality is far more encouraging than they expected. So, how much deposit do you really need to buy in Northwest London? The honest answer is that there is no single number that applies to everyone. Your ideal deposit depends on your goals, your financial position, the type of property you're considering, and the opportunities available in the market at the time. For some buyers, entering the market sooner with a smaller deposit may be the right move. For others, continuing to save and strengthening their position may offer greater benefits in the long run. The key is understanding the difference between what is possible and what is optimal. Because buying a home is not simply about reaching the minimum requirement. It is about making a decision that supports your financial future with confidence. So, if you've been putting off your property search because you believe you haven't saved enough, it may be worth taking a closer look at your options. You may be further along than you think. And with the right information, the right guidance, and a clear understanding of the market, the goal of owning a home in Northwest London could be much closer than it appears. Because every successful property journey starts the same way. Not with a deposit, but with clarity.